What enforcement tools and information should I be aware of that work and don't work? Unauthorized sellers are an enormous problem in the e-commerce space. Very little regulation or policing in massive online marketplaces. Retailers have an incentive to obtain products through illegitimate channels for cheap online sales. Brands suffering price erosion as illicit sellers continually drop prices in order to win sales. Price matching by other marketplaces, causing a spiral towards the bottom pricing. This spawned a whole new industry of e-commerce enforcement. Where did all these people come from? Tech, former employees of eBay, Amazon, etc., sales channel consultants, and attorneys. Services offered are all over the map, from monitoring only, to monitoring and portal messaging to sellers, to consulting about services like Amazon Brand Registry, to unscrupulous tactics that can cause legal challenges for the brand, to arranging product buys and attempting to engage law enforcement. Before we talk about what works and what doesn't when it comes to e-commerce enforcement, let's talk about the number one problem when it comes to illicit sellers operating in marketplaces like Amazon, Walmart, eBay, and Google Shopping. Anonymity. Third-party retailers on these sites don't operate under their own names. You'll never see John Jones selling a product through Amazon under the name John Jones. Instead, Amazon will have them set up a third-party seller account that uses a fictitious name, e.g. Acme Lipstick Sales. When consumers purchase products from John Jones via Amazon, they will only ever see the name Acme Lipstick Sales. Amazon will not give up the true identities of its third-party sellers, period. Sellers will utilize dropshipping companies as proxies to hide their true identity. Sellers will utilize fake names and geographic locations as their true identity when setting up accounts. Anonymity makes e-commerce enforcement very difficult. Sophisticated sellers know Amazon will not provide their identities. Why? Too much money to be made. Amazon gets a transaction fee off every product sold through third-party retailers, TPR. In 2018, its TPR program netted $42.75 billion in sales. They also believe that there's not a whole lot brands can do to stop them, so long as that anonymity is maintained. E-commerce enforcement tools that don't work versus those that do. Tools that don't work. Cease and desist, C&D notices sent to the anonymous storefronts. May work against small-time mom-and-pop sellers. Sophisticated sellers ignore these communications. Amazon's brand registry. Only allowed for companies with registered trademarks. Does not protect brands against unauthorized sales from supply chain leakage. Is only effective against copyright, patent, and counterfeit infringements. Brands that utilize the brand registry infringement tool through false infringement claims actually can be blocked by Amazon and sued by the seller. Doing nothing. Some e-commerce enforcement consultants actually suggest this as a strategy. It's a bad idea. If you don't enforce against unauthorized sellers, your brand will quickly get a reputation as one that can be exploited and can cause significant losses to the brand. Compete with unauthorized sellers. You can try to sell products direct on Amazon. You may be competing with dozens of unauthorized sellers, and may even have to compete with Amazon itself. You don't want to get in a bidding war and a race to the bottom pricing. Unauthorized sellers likely obtain products cheaply through illicit means. They can sell them cheaper than you. Amazon doesn't care if it makes a profit off selling your products. It wants to preserve its reputation as offering the lowest prices of quality product delivered quickly to your doorstep. It has plenty of profitable revenue streams elsewhere. Map monitoring tools. Map monitoring tools alone only notify you of a problem, but don't fix the problem. They're like a policeman with a radar gun, with no ability to run someone down and write them a ticket. Identification only. Identification of the seller alone doesn't work without being able to track their movements to further hide their identity, thus forcing you to play a game of whack-a-mole. Tools that do work. Identify individuals behind the anonymous online storefronts. If you take away their anonymity and then track their every move, you take away their power. escalation of pressure directly on the seller. This makes it too painful for them to sell your products. Cease and desist demands can be sent directly to their home address or business address via regular mail and certified deliveries. Draft federal court complaints for trademark infringement or unfair business practices can be sent to the real people behind the illicit sales. Determining the source of the product leakage and cutting off the source. Putting proper distribution and retailer policies in place. Limiting the number of sellers who can sell on marketplaces and private websites. This aggressive enforcement tactic will earn your brand the street credibility it needs to keep future unauthorized sellers from poaching your profits. If Amazon protects seller identities, how can you ever identify real people? This is the e-Enforce difference. They specialize in finding, identifying, tracking, and permanently removing unauthorized sellers. Law enforcement trained investigators. Proprietary OSINT, open source intelligence tools. Security clearances to access law enforcement and private investigator databases. Licensed private investigators on staff who are trained to track names, physical addresses, phone numbers, and social security numbers. Proprietary database of over 150,000 known top unauthorized sellers. Legal relationships and strategies to deploy advanced enforcement tactics. Other e-Enforce tools that work. Prevention. Help brands develop systems and tools now that will help with enforcement efforts down the road. Trademark analyses. Authorized retailer networks. Creating material difference to overcome the first sale doctrine defense so often raised by unauthorized sellers. Publication of authorized seller lists and other information used to differentiate authorized versus unauthorized sellers. Data collection and analysis. Find and identify sellers from across the globe and analyze the harm each is doing to your brand. Develop a takedown strategy that prioritizes those sellers who are doing the most harm to your brand. Build street credibility and permanently remove unauthorized sellers. Employ consistent, escalating enforcement against unauthorized sellers. Make it difficult for them to sell your brand.